Hi guys, I hope you all had a wonderful solstice or Yule or Christmas, whatever way you were celebrating. It's been a little while since I sat in front of the camera actually because apart from the solstice video I made, which actually I didn't technically face the camera during that one, I actually haven't made a video in a while because the ones that I was posting through December, I kind of pre-recorded all of them early enough in December because I knew that I was going to be extremely busy coming up to Christmas. Unfortunately not because I was preparing for Christmas or for the solstice, which I didn't have an awful lot of time to prepare for, which I've mentioned in my previous video, but because I had a huge work project that was due to be finished before the Christmas holidays. So it's been an interesting kind of month. It's been an interesting wrap up of the year. It's been extremely busy, but at the same time, I suppose having had maybe a week now of time to myself, I've kind of had a chance to let things settle a bit because while the Christmas period has been really hectic, I haven't had much time to myself. This is the first day I've really actually spent any time back in my apartment in about a week. So I have been neglected from my altar for about a week. I just haven't touched it. So my spiritual practice obviously kind of went a little bit out the window. I did try to keep doing my daily devotionals, for want of a better word, in my parents' house or in my boyfriend's house, wherever I happen to be. I mean, I am used to trekking between the three houses anyway. But things have just gotten a bit kind of shaken up and things are different, and it's actually kind of helped me solidify things in my own mind, I think, in terms of where I want to go in various ways, what directions I want to take and what focuses I want to have in the new year. And I didn't expect it kind of to work like that. I kind of thought that I wouldn't really be able to solidify that kind of stuff until I had time to sit down and think and journal and all that stuff. But actually I think that having a bit of time away from my usual routine and even maybe a bit of time where I'm not thinking about all that stuff has helped it all get a bit more clarified in my unconscious mind. So I kind of wanted to make a video today and talk a bit about the new year, a bit about what 2014, what I'm hoping for in 2014, what it's going to look like for me, hopefully, and what I'm going to be focusing on, or at least a couple of things that I'm going to be focusing on as I go into the first couple of months of it. And just kind of give a general sort of update video, I suppose. I haven't done an awful lot of chatty, vloggy kind of videos, even though I've talked in bits and pieces about my life and about what's going on with me in different videos. I haven't really done an awful lot of, chatty kind of vloggy kind of videos. So first and foremost, I wanted to talk about this. Now this is not, this isn't actually a Christmas present, technically. It's, although, well, my parents did buy it for me and they bought it for me not too long before Christmas, I think sometime in December. And it's not strictly related to spirituality. But sorry, I'm a bit out of it. Obviously I'm not used to talking to the camera, but basically my parents got me a blender because I had been talking about trying green smoothies as a thing. And initially when I was talking about it, it wasn't really something that I was like, oh, I'm going to start drinking green smoothies every day. It was more of a like, hey, maybe I'll try doing that. And they bought one for me anyway. Because, well, they didn't have a blender anyway, so they decided to get one for the house, but then they ended up getting one for me too. One of the major aspects of 2014 for me that I would like to be changing things up a bit and would like to see improvement in is my physiological health. I wouldn't say that I'm extremely unhealthy, and I think my health is something that I've been improving very gradually over a long space of time, probably over about, I suppose, maybe a little bit less than 10 years, because I was never a particularly healthy person. It's not that I've ever had any major illnesses, thank God, and touch wood and all that, but I have had some, minor issues, some medium kind of issues over the past 7 years or so since I left school and went to university. It's not like, as I was kind of starting to say there, it's not like strictly related to spirituality, but it does all kind of tie in together. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So the green smoothie thing for me is like the latest experiment in a string of experiments that I have been kind of trying probably since about the summer. Actually, it was probably about the time that I started this YouTube channel. I really started kind of stepping up my game a bit in terms of really trying to change up what I was eating, change up what I was doing in terms of exercise and that kind of thing, and just in terms of my general health. So the green smoothie thing is, I'm drinking a green smoothie now every day for breakfast. And it's kind of like the culmination of a change in my diet that I've been kind of fiddling with it for a long time. Basically, when I was a teenager, when I was in school, I really wasn't particularly healthy, and health and healthy eating and exercise weren't things I thought about at all. And I just always had it in my head that young people are healthy anyway, and naturally healthy, and that they don't have to do anything to maintain that health. And I was really not a very outdoorsy kind of child, and that kind of went on for quite a while. And it wasn't until I got into college and I put on a bit of weight when I was about 17. And it wasn't really until I got into college that I kind of realised, oh, maybe I should be doing a bit of exercise. And I kind of started walking. That was my primary mode of exercise, and that went on for quite a while. And I did lose the weight again, and I kind of got back to what was, I don't know, a sort of acceptable level of fitness, which kind of brings me up pretty much until last year, because I never really took it any further than that. And in terms of healthy eating, I kind of got myself up to a point where I was kind of eating my 5 a day, just about. And then kind of left it at that. And then I kind of felt again like, okay, well, this is fine. I'm reasonably healthy. This is, you know, I'm doing well. But just gradually over the last couple of years, I just haven't been very healthy. I mean, I've just been getting chronic colds. I've had on and off digestive problems, which were worse back when I was in university. They're majorly stress related, but at the same time, I never really dealt with that. It got to a point during this year, probably around the time that I was starting my internship, which was 9 months long, which is now over. I'm still working in the same company on a contract, but I just decided that something had to change. And it was around the time that I started to do yoga, because not only did I realise that I was chronically unfit, constantly getting colds, lack of energy, massive lack of energy. I have always needed an awful lot of sleep. I kind of never grew out of that. I felt like that was something that I would grow out of as I left my teenage years, and I didn't. And just lethargy, tiredness, insomnia, just, you know, the lot. All those kind of little niggles that so many people have, that a lot of people accept it as normal. But I just got to a point where I thought, you know, I'm 20, whatever age I was, I think I was 24 at the time, you know, I'm 24, I should be able to run. I shouldn't be getting colds all the time. And back pain, that was another thing. My back pain was returning, and that was something that had become a problem for me in my early years in university. And yeah, so I think I started running and yoga around the same time. I think I maybe started running just before I started doing yoga. And that's been very slow progress with both of those things. And then more recently I just decided that I was going to change up my diet and try to be radically more healthy. And when I say radically more healthy, I really mean eliminating processed foods from my everyday diet, eliminating flour, basically, white flour in particular. I think I'm going to probably eliminate wheat from my, you know, everyday diet. For the most part, eliminate sugar almost entirely. I will be baking more with things like honey and stuff instead of sugar. And generally just try to see how much of a difference it makes to me in terms of my mood, in terms of my energy levels, and in terms of my health. So I am getting to the part where this is all kind of relevant to spirituality. I'm sorry if I've bored you silly so far. Basically, although my changes that I've been making in terms of exercise and diet and things like that have been primarily to do with, you know, physiological health, I also have found that the more that I work on my general levels of happiness, my mood, you know, exploring my spirituality, being true to myself, following my passions, all that kind of thing, the more I do that, the more I have realised how much my health seems to have to do with my mood and just my general kind of holistic well-being. I think I kind of always took this for granted a bit. I mean, I was always aware that if I was hungry, I would feel terrible, and then I ate, I would feel better. And most of all, I've had always noticed that if I was tired, if I hadn't had enough sleep, and if I was unwell, I could really be quite, I could feel really horribly depressed actually for several days at a time. And then once that would all kind of lift at the same time. I mean, I know obviously when you're depressed, it can cause tiredness and lethargy, but I kind of mean that, like, for me, it has always more been that the tiredness has caused the kind of negative feelings. I did go through a depressive stage when I was much younger, but I seem to have, it seems that that tendency in me has balanced itself out as I left my teenage years. So it's been a long time since I have considered myself to be depressive. I think when I started exploring spirituality in a serious way about a year and a half ago to 2 years ago, I think I just reached a point where I realised that there were levels of happiness that I had not been allowing myself to experience, and that I didn't even realise were possible for me. I think when we're younger, a lot of the time, we think of happiness as something that happens to us, as something that we sort of receive on a platter because things work out for us in our lives, right? You know, we kind of think when we're teenagers, oh, you know, I'll be happy when I have a boyfriend, or when that particular person falls in love with me, or I'll be happy when I'm in a relationship when I'm older, I'll be happy when I have a job, when I have money, when I have a house, when I can live away from my parents. Whatever it is, all of these kind of things. For me anyway, as a teenager, because I was quite an unhappy teenager for various reasons, particularly in my younger years, I tended to think of happiness as something that couldn't happen until I had achieved all of these things that seemed necessary. And those things at the time weren't possible for me to achieve yet. You know, it was things like things that would happen later in life. And that kind of belief, and it's such a limiting belief that I think so many people hold on to, and I see a lot of my friends still holding on to it now in their 20s. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this recently because she went through a pretty difficult period in her life about a year or two ago, maybe oh God, it must be more. Oh, I'm feeling old now. It must be about 3 or 4 years ago. Actually, I was thinking of it only as a year ago. But anyway, she went through a phase in her life where she had that realization, where she kind of realized that she had to take hold of her life and push it in the direction that she wanted it to go in, that she had to actually follow up on those things that made her happy and those things that she was passionate about. And that just going down a route that seemed easy or that would make her money was just not going to make her happy. And just because she was going to go and get a job out of that, and you know, that she would get all of those materialistic things by doing that, didn't mean that she was somehow magically going to find happiness just by going down that road. I think the more that I've embraced this idea that happiness is something that you have to find in yourself in the moment, and happiness is also something that you have to invite into your life, I suppose, that unless you actively pursue those things that make you feel happy, then it's not going to magically happen. It's something you have to work for and strive towards, I suppose you could say. And that's really changed my entire attitude on life and on my behaviour, and how my behaviour affects my mood and affects my entire life. Because obviously if my behaviour is affecting my mood massively affects how I behave. It's kind of like a vicious cycle. It massively affects what I decide to do with myself, because if I'm feeling lethargic and lazy and like anything I do isn't really going to make a difference in my life, I'm very unlikely to chase up those passions that seem daring or that seem unlikely to work out for me, that that seem unlikely to make me money or a stable career path. But along with that, I had to acknowledge that my kind of physiological relative unhealth was really holding me back in terms of managing to achieve a sort of stable happiness. And I realised that there were like physical habits, not only in terms of spirituality and creativity and things like that, but physical habits that I had to change in order to find that best level of happiness that I can. So physical health is going to be a major thing for me in 2014. I'm going to continue with everything that I've been doing, and I'm not going completely crazy with any of it excuse me, with any of it either. I do want to make that very clear. When I say that I'm cutting out sugar and flour and stuff from my everyday diet, that doesn't mean that I'm never going to eat those things. It just means that I don't want to have the habit of eating bread every day at lunch, because eating bread every day at lunch is just not working for me. It might work for other people, particularly things like brown bread. Some people love it, it works for them, that's great. Personally, I don't think wheat agrees with me very well. And yeah, so I definitely don't want to be regimental and too strict about these things. In terms of running, I'm not going out running every day, I'm doing it twice a week. So it's a very gradual kind of process. I'm not improving very quickly. But at the same time, I am feeling myself getting stronger and fitter in a kind of gradual stop-start kind of way. And then of course the yoga. The yoga it's spiritual for me now, to an extent. It's majorly helping my back, and it's also helping me to get strong and flexible. So yeah, I have a few goals. I mean, I think everything that I want to get started on for the new year, I've actually technically already started. In 2013, but it's just that I want to bring it all together now in 2014. Another thing is sleep, actually, that I didn't mention. In December, I tried getting up at the same time every day, which that was difficult. And it wasn't, I mean, it could have been more difficult because I was so busy. I wasn't socializing a lot, you know, I wasn't partying a lot. So I wasn't having like majorly late nights at the weekend. But it was still quite a difficult thing to do. But I just wanted to get myself onto some sort of pattern. Because I only work 4 days a week, I was getting into this kind of bad sleeping pattern where I was getting up at 8:30, 4 days a week, and then on Thursdays I was sort of technically saying to myself, oh, you know, I'll get up at 8:30, and I wouldn't. I'd get up at 9 or 9:30, and then at the weekend I was sleeping in until, you know, any time between 9:30 and 11 o'clock sometimes. So my body just had no idea what was going on. It had no idea when it should be sleeping. And for some people, again, that's not a problem. Maybe they don't need as much sleep. Maybe they will just fall asleep when they allow themselves to, or whatever. But I was feeling that it wasn't working for me, that I was tired all the time. Even after a good night's sleep, I was still feeling lethargic and tired, and like I hadn't had enough rest. So I tried doing that, and that seems to have helped as well. It's been hard for me to tell how much all of this is helping because I've been so stressed and busy in work, so I've been exhausted, but I think so far it's really been helping. In terms of the green smoothie thing now, I was not expecting that to have a major impact straight away in particular, but I think my body is actually detoxing, and I really wasn't expecting that at all. So that's been interesting and kind of a little bit difficult to be going through over the Christmas period. But it was only a couple of days there where I actually just thought I was sick. I thought I was unwell. Like I thought I just was really run down and had a cold, and I needed loads of sleep, and then I wasn't able to sleep 2 nights in a row, and I was feeling really weird. And but yeah, I seem to be coming out the other side of that, and I have to say I am feeling more clear-headed and happier than I have in a really long time. So I'm actually really excited about all these kind of physiological things, and I would urge you to think about it. Like I would urge you to not think about your physiological health as being something completely separate to, say, your the rest of your life or your spiritual life, because for me, spirituality and self-development absolutely go hand in hand. I am a spiritual person because I chose to be. I'm not a spiritual person because I think that there is a God or gods who need to be served, if you know what I mean. It's kind of it's a very personal, in a way it's a selfish thing. I might make a video about at some point, because that's something I've been thinking about, and something I'm always mulling over in my head, about how selfish my spiritual practice is and what my motivations for it really are. But I've lost my train of thought now. My spirituality and my self-development they go hand in hand. They are one and the same thing for me, really. Becoming a spiritual person has been the same journey for me as becoming a happier person, because I thought I was happy, but then when I actually kind of thought about it more and realised that there was something really lacking in my life, and started striving towards that in terms of spirituality and thinking about all the stuff that I've been thinking about now for a couple of years, I realised how much I was missing out on in terms of happiness potential. So I think that's all I'm going to say about the physiological health stuff, and I didn't know I was going to go on about it quite so long. But like I say, it really is a major thing for me, and it's definitely completely tied in with my spirituality. And not only in terms of improving my mood and improving my general health so that I can get more out of life, but also so that I can experience what my full potential is and experience what the full potential of a human body is, because it's not, I'm too focused sometimes on the mind. I'm very interested in the capabilities of the human mind and things like that, but then to the detriment kind of thinking about the capabilities of the human body, which I think is something that I would like to explore a bit more and get a better mind-body connection as well, because I would like to get out of that mindset that my mind is separated from my body. I generally think of myself as being quite mentally, emotionally stable and secure, and having a good mind-body relationship, a good body image and all that kind of thing. But I think it's a little bit like when I thought I was happy a couple of years ago before I came back to spirituality. I think I have it in my head like, oh, I have a good body image, but I kind of don't really. It's not as good as it could be, that kind of thing. So there's definitely more work that can be done there. So that's enough talking about that. That went on a little bit. Obviously in the new year, I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be learning. I'm going to be moving into new directions. I said in, it might have been the solstice video or maybe a video before that, that I'm feeling a major shift happening for me right now. And whether it's, I think it might encompass all of my life, but definitely with my spirituality. That's where it's most manifesting itself. I'm feeling a bit of a shift. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes. And I would definitely like, if possible in the new year, to set more time aside for my spirituality, because I have been setting a certain amount of time aside, but a lot of that time has gotten eaten up by my blog and my YouTube channel and stuff. And I absolutely love doing those things. I definitely don't want to cut back on those things, but I want to get a bit more organized so that I can have set times when I do that stuff, when I watch YouTube videos, when I make YouTube videos, and when I read blogs and write blogs and you know, all that kind of thing. And then to have other time that is just for reading or practice or meditating or, you know, actually doing the thing and not just thinking about it or writing about it or learning about it. But reading books is a major thing, because I love books. I have so many books. I have so many books that I want to read, and I just don't. I'm a slow reader as well, and I get really frustrated with it. So I'm really bad for actually reading all the books that I have or want to read. I don't know why I'm a slow reader. It's really strange, because I was able to read from a young age. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's something to do with the way that I learned to read or something, but I'm a relatively slow reader and it's incredibly frustrating. So I'll talk about, just want to show you just 3 books that I have here that I have owned for several months and still haven't touched. No, I lie. The first one I have actually opened it and read a chapter or 2. But I haven't got around to reading the rest of it, because there's several other books that I'm still in the process of reading. But these are just a snapshot into, and these are kind of pagan specific, that kind of area books. I have other history books and all sorts of other books that I'm going to be reading too. And so this is just a bit of a snapshot. The first one is Condensed Chaos. Now I got this on recommendation from Kellyanne, because Kellyanne basically said, if you like my videos, you're going to like this book. And I love her videos, so I thought, right, well, I'm definitely going to love that book then. And also because, as you probably know if you've been watching my videos at all, I don't do magic. I haven't really... It's not that I haven't read about it and delved into it and thought about it, and because I'm fascinated by magic, I'm fascinated by witchcraft, and I've, you know, read quite a lot and have kind of experimented with it, but it's not something that has kind of become a thing for me at all. It hasn't really clicked with me at all. But I have a feeling that that will not always be the case, and I have kind of always added a caveat whenever I say that you know, I don't do magic right now. But I think that this book might be an interesting place for me to start in terms of maybe figuring out ways that that kind of practice might become useful for me, because I have a feeling that I will end up with a practice of some sort that might not necessarily be something I will call magic, but that will be largely informed by magical practices. And it might be a bit more psychological, to do with self-development, and there's probably going to be a lot of tarot involved. But yeah, I think I'm just going to have to crack a few more books and think about it a bit more, and I'm hoping to be able to do that in the new year. Next book is Stations of the Sun. I read Triumph of the Moon a long time ago now. No, when I say a long time, I actually mean about 9 months, but it's a long time for me in my head in terms of my recent spiritual journey. I absolutely love Triumph of the Moon. I love facts, I love history, I love academia, I love all that kind of thing. So if I can read a book about paganism written by a history professor, I am in heaven. So I'm really excited to read this one, and I'm really disappointed that I haven't actually got around to reading it yet, because this is right up my alley. This is my kind of book. Just something really fact-based, and something that will kind of give me sort of a better running knowledge of where all the celebrations on the Wheel of the Year and others, where they originate and how long they've been around and all that kind of thing. I'm really fascinated by that, because my Wheel of the Year has been very set, and I have very specific reasons for why I celebrate those 8 days on the wheel. They're not necessarily the same as for the reasons that that Wiccans celebrate them or whatever, but I haven't really gone into the history of them and that kind of thing very much, because I haven't felt the need to. I'm happy enough to practice them from my own understanding of them, but I definitely do want to read more about the history of them. And then the third one is an interesting one. I have to say, I don't usually like, oh no, this isn't, oh it is, do people say Leolin? It's one of those kind of Welsh words that I'm always afraid that I'm absolutely going to be mangling it when I pronounce it, but I think people just say Leolin. There's probably supposed to be a chla in there somewhere, but I don't usually like Leolin books. I had a lot of them when I was a teenager. That's where I started, as an awful lot of people do, because the bulk of material that you can find is Leolin. And I'm not going to say that it's all terrible. Some of it is quite good. You kind of have to find the gems within the not so gem-like books. But basically it's not very easy to find material on the Morrigan. I am familiar with all of the sagas and stories and Irish tales that she is in. There's definitely a lot more reading that I can do on that. My parents have a lot of books that I can definitely delve into, and I want to read probably in Irish the actual original texts from, well, I mean, they're not from the time that the stories are. Okay, I'll get into that in another video maybe, but basically what I'm saying is that it's hard to find material on the Morrigan, and I've seen this book, I've seen it recommended by a few different people. It's called Celtic Lore and Spellcraft of the Dark Goddess Invoking the Morrigan. I'm not sure how much it's going to be in line with my kind of take on deities and my kind of take on the Morrigan, but I definitely think it's going to be a very interesting read for me anyway, and I'd say I'll be able to get a lot out of it. It's very possible that I will read through it and frown and go, no, that's all incorrect. I mean, I haven't read it at all. I have no idea. For all I know, it's wonderfully researched. Like, I really don't know. But I know from experience with Leolin that sometimes, in terms of research and stuff like that they can be a little bit lacking. But I'm definitely looking forward to reading that and seeing what I can get out of it. And obviously there's a huge amount of other books. I really want to get into Jung a bit more. I've read 4 Archetypes and bits and pieces of other writings by Jung, but I'm really excited to read a bit more of his as well, because I'm really fascinated by that. I would like to read more about dream analysis and that kind of thing. Kellyanne recommended a book in a video a couple of weeks ago, I think. I'm definitely going to buy that soon, but I'm trying to stop myself from buying any more books right now until I've read a few more, and then I'm going to allow myself to buy a few more books. So lastly then, because I think I've probably gone on long enough now, one more thing that I got recently is the Wild Unknown Tarot. I'm very excited about this. I got this for myself because I kind of didn't want to ask my boyfriend for it, because I prefer kind of doing surprise presents, and I didn't feel comfortable enough to ask my parents about it because they don't know yet that I do tarot. They kind of, I'm starting to talk to them a bit about my spirituality in kind of, not very explicitly, but it is all starting to come out, and I'm really pleased about that. I would like to be a lot more open with them about what I'm up to, but that will come. It's getting there. But basically I just decided to buy it for myself, and it was kind of like a solstice present for myself. I recently started, as I said, I got contract work with the place that I did my internship, so I'm being paid properly for the first time ever. This is my first real job. And although I'm going to be doing a lot of saving, I decided I'm going to buy myself a few things. So I got myself this. And I'm actually, as much as I love the box, it is a little bit hard to get the cards in and out of it, so I might actually end up storing them in something different. But anyway, if you're not familiar with this deck, you need to look it up. It's it's absolutely beautiful, and really interesting. It's really quite different. As you may know, I only own 2 other tarot decks. I own the original Rider-Waite, so it's basically just Rider-Waite with slightly different colouring kind of thing, and Shadowscapes. And Shadowscapes I absolutely adored, but there's something about it that I feel like the further I go along my tarot journey, the more it just feels a bit, I can't think of the right word. There's just something, I suppose it's probably just it's not completely on the same wavelength as me. And I learned with Shadowscapes, so it's always going to have a very special place in my heart. But I don't know, I have a really good feeling about this deck. Sorry about that, my camera actually ran out of space. I'm dreading seeing how long this video is. I think I'm going to have to edit it a bit. Anyway, I was just finishing up talking about the Wild Unknown Tarot. I haven't worked a huge amount with it yet because I haven't had time, but I have gone through every card and written down my initial kind of responses to them, just in a couple of key words. I tried for the most part to not think about the Rider-Waite, corresponding Rider-Waite definitions or meanings, but of course it's kind of inevitable because I'm so familiar with that sort of the general Rider-Waite universal definitions that it's kind of hard for me to put them to one side. But anyway, it was a very interesting going through them, and I found the minors different to what I was expecting, and I definitely think on first glance that I preferred, that I kind of bonded better with the majors. But I think there's going to be a huge amount of scope for this deck for me. I think it's a deck that I'm going to be able to go very deep with. Okay, I'm going to leave it there because I think I've been blabbering on now for a really long time, and I think I better shut up and let you go. One more thing that I meant to say at the beginning of the video, if you've made it this far, well, you know, well done. But I meant to say, I meant to kind of welcome all my new subscribers to the channel. I've had a new influx of subscribers because I had 2 recommendations in one day actually. The 4 Queens recommended me, and Laura Rain. And thank you so much to both of you for recommending my channel. It really means a lot to me to see that people are enjoying my videos and getting something out of it. And it's always great to have new faces, new people watching. So welcome to anyone who's new. And yeah, as I say, I hope you had a great kind of festive period, and I'm going to be making lots of new videos soon. I have a whole host of videos that I want to make. I want to make one on some of my favourite books. I want to make one on the Morrigan. And I can't even remember right now off the top of my head all the other ones that I want to make, so there's going to be lots coming up soon, hopefully. Thanks for watching, guys. Much love and take care.